Yeah, I will. I plan
All right.
yet again.
Bannock County Commissioners are now in session, and it looks like we have the treasurer and associates.
Yes, sir.
So go ahead and introduce yourself, and just-
Jennifer Clark, Bannock County Treasurer.
let's go over your budget.
Do you want me to introduce me too?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Misty Katzalamitas, Chief Deputy Treasurer.
And then you can just kind of hit your highlights and things. You don't have to do every line. But
Okay. All right, well, our biggest thing again this year that we're asking for is that our deputy treasurers be moved from a grade 5 to a grade 6 to be part of the fiscal professional family, since the majority of what we do is dealing with money, and that wasn't a known factor before in the way they were placed. So that's my biggest request there. My only other things that I have is that we're asking for an increase of $100 in our hostess supply, up to $500, because we have added a water cooler in our office. My travel line, I've asked for an increase of $1,000 up to $5,000, just due to the rising cost of economy in hotels and fuel. Next year, our conference will be in Lewiston, so it'll be a little bit more for travel since it's farther.
Will you make up for it this year? It's here.
Lucky us, lucky us. This is true. And then my only other request was for contract services, an increase of $8,000 due to the rising cost of the Master's Touch, who prints our bills for us and mails them. We do have extra parcels each year get added, and then just the cost in itself. We were using state-provided tax bills, which was free, and the Master's Touch will no longer be using those, so we have to pay for paper on top of that.
Why is the Master's Touch not using that?
They're able to be more efficient with their printing if they use regular paper versus the ones that have the perforated stubs. They can run double the number of bills at the same time and get our mailing out quicker versus us waiting. And last year we missed our deadline due to all of the state issues. So they say they'll be more efficient, which is probably true. They can utilize their equipment better if they're just using regular paper.
I see.
Other questions?
I don't have any. That's easy as can be.
As always.
That's us.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
We're easy too.
Oh, one other thing, sorry, I did not say this, but of course, we're always request an increase for COLA due to the rising cost of everything in this world.
Sorry you missed out. You were already dismissed.
Too bad, so sad.
And I'm looking at a 3%. It's my goal.
Awesome. Okay, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Have a great day.
It's actually page 10.
Yeah. It's 10.
I was a page ahead.
Emergency, oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Which one, what page are these guys on?
So for salaries, it's on page 10,
Oh, okay.
and then you'll go to page 11, and you'll look at, on the line items on the left, it will be ending in 22.
They were 22.
Shoot, 23, sorry. I followed the line wrong.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
All right, introduce yourselves.
Okay,
Let's go.
Wes Jones, Emergency Management,
Karen Trumbull, Emergency Management.
and we'll just let Karen cover all
Chat
the
through
budget
it.
because that's what we hired her for.
All right, so since we are working with our funding is coming from the Emergency Management Program grant. And this year, because of that April 1st letter stating that there's going to be a 9% across the board reduction for Homeland Security funds, it does look like there may be more needed from Bannock County to cover the additional 50% match. So it won't be just 50%, it may be a 55% match. So to start with, what we sent over we also attempted.
Real quick, Karen, can you get me a copy of that information?
This was sent and it came through to all the commissioners and to Jason.
Okay, thanks. That's good budget information for me to have for revenue.
We did put in for a 3%, but it sounds like that was the hope anyway. Going down our line items, we're going to stay with our office supplies. Our operating supplies, we're going to go ahead and go down $2,000 because we needed to move it to a different line item. Education, we are reducing just a little bit just because we're trying to hold more education here. We throw classes here in different locations. We had a question. We were watching Adam and his budget, and he was saying something about the phone. You know how the phone expenses got shifted? Do we need to add some into our budget?
We'll take care of that on the clerk side.
Cool. Okay. All right. Handled. And then
And actually, no, you don't, because you didn't have it budgeted in '24, so you won't need
because
it
it
in
got deleted
'25.
last year, and then
Yep.
we weren't sure.
Yep, you're still fine.
Okay, cool, thanks. All right, and then that leaves with a cell phone. We are attempting to get a second one just because we both respond to incidents. From there, we have uniforms, since that was now a new line item, is that correct? Like, uniforms are okay to have?
If you're going to do uniforms, we just need to know what you're going to be buying and how frequently,
Okay.
because if it's excessive, it becomes a taxable fringe.
And
I don't think
it's not really uniforms, I mean, for
Right.
most
For us,
organizations.
it's just presentation outfits.
It's like this shirt
Yes.
right here, a
Yes.
polo shirt or something of that nature. The uniforms would be the jail and the sheriff and stuff.
Right, so
Where
it's not-
other departments are,
We just need to start a standard of what
Yeah.
employees are going to be allowed to just have shirts to wear to work,
Yeah.
or if it's going to be required because they go to trainings or present.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you can get us a list of what you're anticipating you want to do
Okay.
and what you want to provide, then the board will know if that's going to be appropriate.
Yeah, I'm guessing like 2 or 3 shirts, just because I'm around the community quite a bit. I teach around. I've done the Scouts this year, Senior Center, where were we, Salvation Army. I'm like, I just saw John.
And we're gonna, like I say, we'll kind of come up with a policy a little bit. What we found is, it wasn't a line item, and we had a lot of departments just buying stuff, and we want to see where it's going, what it's for, and kind of have a policy in what it is.
So if you can just email Jason, myself, and Caitlin,
Okay.
your anticipated clothing plan.
Well, we just put in $500 because it's so expensive to even get anything embroidered. Like it's.
And it has to be embroidered? It
ridiculous.
has to have the logo?
We usually do a logo just because
Right.
we're Bannock County
Right,
represent.
I'm just telling you, you have to, as part of the fringe and all of that, so you're doing it perfect.
Oh, okay,
If you do
okay.
it. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we have got a logo. Emma had made us one. I
Which
think
should
that's
be
what
the
that
same,
is.
but
Anyways,
anyways, just tell us
so-
what you're gonna do and we'll go
Okay,
from there.
cool. And I think that's kind of it. Just the matching's a little bit different just because things have shifted, so.
Okay.
Questions?
I don't have any. No.
All right, well.
Thank you very much.
Sweet.
No bruises or contusions.
Yeah, easy.
That's great.
Stay on 10 and 11 for the next 3.
Okay, same place.
Yeah. Hey, Emma.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I did bring a copy of my budget request that I emailed to everyone yesterday, just so that you guys just have a physical copy to mark up if you'd like. Thank you.
And are these changes from what you submitted already?
Yes.
So
from what I
we
submitted
can't,
earlier.
that's not really the way that it works. We
Okay.
take what you have before, and so we'll put whatever else in the clerk's recommendation. I understand what you're doing,
Yes,
but
and-
that's not the correct procedure.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
still learning the process. Emma Iantone, Public Information Officer, here to discuss the budget request for the PIO office for FY25. I'll just kind of go through the highlights here. I didn't make too many changes to my overall budget. I did request a little increase to my office supplies budget to cover the cost of 2 branded canopies for the county. Those would be used for outdoor hiring events, other community events that our employees go to. Televisions and TV mounts for a couple more televisions at the courthouse. I identified some locations with facilities and Commissioner Moser that we could potentially put some televisions up to help improve our outreach to those who come into the courthouse. I did add the $480 for the cell phone line. That was previously budgeted in the telephone line, so we're just moving that to the appropriate line. And then originally in my request I had asked for a community support line, but I'm changing that because I have the other areas that I'd like to prioritize for this year. So I struck that in this document. And then I wanted to go over a couple of considerations for other department-specific projects that I've identified for the upcoming fiscal year with these departments. So I thought that it would best go into my professional services line, but I wanted to have that discussion with y'all and figure out where you think is most appropriate. So if you have any questions about the canopy or television mounts, I can go through that now.
Which departments might use that canopy?
Most. So procurement, juvenile services, landfill. If emergency services would like to use one, I know that they would also like to have one that's branded for their department, but really any department that would fall under that.
We're just going to say Bannock County.
Yeah.
They're not going to be department. Okay.
Yep, they're just going to be generically branded. That way they can be used across the board.
What's the size?
10 by 10.
10 by 10, and we don't have anything like this currently? Okay.
Okay.
Now on your, so for the commissions
Mhm.
and Jason's reference, within the budget that we have in front of you, there is 4,000 for office supplies, and then the operating supplies is at 5,380, which addresses the items that I just mentioned. The
So would that
TVs,
be-
the canopies, and the TV mounts.
That's where you would prefer it to go?
Yeah, it needs to, because it's, an office supply is consistent things you buy
Okay.
every year. Operating supplies are going to be what varies and changes.
Okay.
So we already have this request in the budget. This isn't a change.
Thank you for
Just
that,
to be clear.
Christine. Appreciate that.
And then on professional services, there's 5,500. Is
Yes.
that your line? It says Chambers Magazine.
Yes. So with these, I went over my budget from this past year, like kind of figuring out where my money went from this past year, and I figure that I can get that purchase within the $5,000 I already am receiving.
Okay, this magazine?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
can strike that $500 there.
So you don't need that?
No.
That money at all?
No,
Zero that?
other than what I'll be kind of going over here.
Okay,
so.
perfect, okay. Just want to make sure I'm tracking.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for being flexible with my changes. Okay, and then I'll kind of go through these department-specific projects that I've identified with the department heads. Again, I figure, I'm fine with these being budgeted in my professional services line. Just wanted to see where y'all think is most appropriate if they are funded at the end of the budget session. For human resources, I'm requesting $500 for recruitment brochures to help with our recruitment and retention efforts. That would be an annual request to replenish those as they are used up. And then some orientation and recruitment materials. I know there's been interest in providing some Bannock County items to employees at orientation or for milestone awards or at hiring fairs. And so I'm just requesting a small amount to start a fund for that. Again, that'd be an annual request to replenish those items. Moving on to the sheriff's office. The I'm asking for an additional $500 for recruitment brochures specifically for the sheriff's office, as they have a high need for new hires. You know, they have a high turnover rate, especially in the jail, and their responsibilities and benefits are different enough from a general Bannock County employee that I feel that me, HR, and the sheriff's office all feel that a department-specific brochure for them would be appropriate as they go out in the community and looking for new hires, especially at the high school events and stuff. Moving on to the Kind Community Coloring Book.
Could I jump back real quick on
Of course.
that, the sheriff's thing? Do they currently have a brochure that they're taking out?
No.
So are they going to high schools and places trying to recruit, and what do they leave the people with now?
I don't think they leave anything with them,
They just
other
go
than like
say, "Hey,
a card. Yeah.
This is a cool
Mhm.
job and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And I think it's kind of nice, especially to have those benefits written out that they can go back, and if they're a high school student, show to their parents, and their parents can be like, yeah, these are really good benefits. These are worth your time to make this application, So I feel like that's a help, because often
Gotcha.
as you're at those hiring affairs, you're not going to remember all of the details that
Right,
they go
if any.
through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Army's been saying be all you can be for a long time on a brochure.
Mhm. Yeah, that's something that I'm excited to start working with Sheriff's Office and kind of getting their direction on a recruitment effort. The Kind Community Coloring book and page and booth. So the Kind Community distributes a coloring book to 7,000 elementary students across the area. And I feel that the Sheriff's Office would be an appropriate entity to have a coloring page in there to help reach those youth, have a positive association with the Sheriff's Office, both for long-term recruitment efforts, but also just so that when they see a sheriff's vehicle, they have that positive association with them. And I feel like it's a small investment into our long-term engagement with the community, and that would be an annual request. Similarly, I'm asking for the same thing for the village, as that's a new service that's relatively unknown if you're not already in the family services community in the area. I feel like building that positive association with the village at a young age is important, so that people, as they get referred to the village, or their families may not even know, but if they see that page in that book, they're like, oh, what is this? This might be helpful as my teenager is, needing some extra help there. So that was another department that I felt would benefit from a small investment in that regard. Also, the village, I feel, would benefit from having some informational brochures similar to the recruitment brochures, but they would be about what services the village offers, what they are, where they're located, and then that could go throughout the community at all the other family service offices in the area, therapy offices, and then they could also have that as to hand out at those community events that they attend. This is where the canopy, I feel, that would be generically branded would not benefit the village, as they have their own unique logo and identity. I think that it would be appropriate for them to have a few table items, a canopy, a tablecloth, a banner, that kind of thing, as they start to go to more of those community events. So that would be a one-time request for an investment in that.
Will you also include like the Bannock County logo or something so that it's identified that the village is Bannock
Yes.
County?
Yes, I think that's a great idea. Mhm.
I mean,
Yes.
we need that recognition that
Yes.
it's us.
That we are the entity
Yeah.
behind it. And then finally, the Planning and Development Office is updating their comprehensive plan. And as we've been working on that, we've identified a need for a designer to kind of go through those pages and make sure it looks clean and easy to read, create some of those graphics that are out of my skill level to create, so that people, the average citizen can read this comp plan and understand what they're looking at, and it would be just a bit cleaner, well put together, and potentially be able to submit it for an award, which would be really cool. So I worked with the Paperwork Place to identify what their cost is for designing, and they charge $39 an hour for design. And based off of a 40-page comp plan, which is what our current comp plan lies around, that would be about $1,600. So at maximum, if they spent an hour designing one page, that would end up being $1,600. And then I left a little wiggle room in case we want to print a few, or if there's a really complicated graphic that comes up that we're not anticipating, we have that extra room to get that graphic created the way it should be.
Okay.
Okay, so in that, all those requests end up to be $13,500 if you feel it's appropriate to add that request to my professional services line.
Okay. Questions?
Nope, I don't have any.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You got in the back. You go to the museum. And they're not till this afternoon.
Maybe we can speed things along.
Sir, who are you here with?
Bannock County Historical Society, are we scheduled now? Or sometime this morning?
This
No.
afternoon.
This afternoon?
We could,
Yeah. Was you coming by yourself?
No, the director was supposed to be here, but she didn't tell me what time. All I saw was on your website where you published you were having hearings, so I just came at 10. I can come back this afternoon.
We actually have it scheduled at 2,
At 2.
if that's when she's planning on being here, so
Good.
You got her number, right? You could text her and see
Yeah.
what she's up to.
So, yeah, but we're back at 2.
And honestly, if she has time this morning and come in, we could get you in, but
we're going pretty quick.
Yeah, if you want to text her and see if she's available,
Yeah,
and just let us know what
I can.
time this morning she might
has
be
all
here.
the details. I'm just moral support.
well, I thought you was with the museum, and I
Yep.
didn't want you to sit here all day and then have to say, well, we're going to lunch now, we'll see you in an hour, you know?
Yeah, I'll text her right now.
All right, Shanda, you're up.
Good morning, Shanda Crystal, Chief Procurement Officer. I have a small budget request in front of you this morning. The education and travel has remained the same as last year. When the ARPA dollars were approved and all of those projects needed to be bid out, I put everything else on hold. So all of the training that anything that I hadn't completed yet, I had applied, I had already been accepted, but that will wait for another year for me. But none of the classes, all of the testing, anything like that has been put on hold until I complete ARPA. That will be one way or another, right? By December, that'll be complete. And so then I'll pick that back up in 2025. So I left those requests the same. But once that certification is complete in 2025, I do anticipate those dollars reducing back to closer to 22 levels once I finish that certification. On the next, I left fuel about the same. Oh, the other thing that's coming up in 2025 is that Idaho Purchasing Association has offered to hold the regional conference. So we're excited for that opportunity. It's usually held in Oregon, but we're going to do it this year. And so I have money in there requesting a trip to Boise for that, to be a part of their regional conference this year. That moves around, and other years it'll be different places. But this one was close enough in Boise, so I had money in there for that as well.
Is this $120 for fuel? Is that to go on that trip, or what's that for?
And or other things. I make a few trips up and down the valley as we're trying to connect the eastern part of the procurement offices. I haven't gone any farther north than Idaho Falls, but there is plans to go. Rexburg and Rigby are booming right now in their growth, and so then I would like to connect with those. Madison County, right, Jefferson County. So it's fuel for those few trips up and down here. And
You're driving one of our cars
County.
around for this stuff, and you're tracking the fuel now?
So the ones that these will be are any that hit the credit card and get charged to it. If I fill up at Road and Bridge, currently the commissioners cover that.
Okay, I just wondered if you knew how much you spent on fuel this year. $120 doesn't seem like very much money for fuel.
Oh, I don't, most of my stuff is covered by the commission. I don't really go outside of Pocatello all of that often. I've made one trip to Boise this year, so there's $60 or so in fuel for that trip
So
there
a
and
lot
back.
of your fuel is covered somewhere else? There's
By
some other
us.
budget?
It's just
My-
my commission
okay.
budget.
Yeah, because of that motor pool.
All right, I was just thinking, that's like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't
120
know.
is small,
What are you
but-
driving?
We just put John on it and
No, is that what you did? Well, there's plenty there, so.
I appreciate that. Okay. The 495 is for their certificate of excellence again. The 500 is new. That is a request for a cell phone. As again, a lot of the projects were put on hold. This one is for that vendor connection that we need to have. It's been apparent, Commissioner Crowder and I have talked about it a couple times about engaging vendors more often, more frequently. And in having a desk phone, it's not often that I can connect with them as they call in. Then I try to tag them, right, and they're busy, and I often end up playing phone tag with people. So being out of the office more often, being available to the departments, but more appropriately the vendors that we deal with that have questions and concerns as they move forward in the bidding process. That is the request, is that for a cell phone that they'll be able to contact me out of the office at any time. I'm already salary, so there's no concern there, but this would just allow them to be able to have access to me for any questions as things come up and we move forward with the process. The
Do you
four,
have in your budget to purchase the phone, or is that going to be free? Just so that you're covered.
right? So my intent, if approved, is to pull the one that I have right now, my personal one, over. So then the county wouldn't cover that one. And then as we go to renew it, at that time, it would be whatever is close to free, or sometimes they have like the $50 ones, but
So your personal phone would become, phone number would become
yes, the county.
phone.
Yep, along with the, well,
That's great.
the equipment would come with me when I go, but there wouldn't be a charge for it. Okay.
For your sake, I would want a county number. But then you'd be packing two phones.
Oh, yeah,
Only because now vendors will have your number,
Mhm.
and they will always have your number.
right?
There's actually a way you can put another phone number on there.
Scott and
So you're going to do the dual.
Jeff have that.
Yeah.
Well, then it would be a stipend. If that's how you plan to go. It would be a
I have-
stipend, not a county phone.
Christy brings up a good point, and that's why they currently don't have my number, is because then they would have access to me all the time. My original thought was, as I pulled that number over to a county line, that then that is county, business county, whatever, right, that they would then, in effect, unless I was on vacation, right, that they would have access to me. I had not considered doing the dual ones yet. I can, if you would prefer, look into that and go down that path further, but I hadn't. But I
Well-
am,
Like Christie's saying though, we need the money in there. The stipend or the phone is the same.
Right.
The cost of a new phone
It's
would
just
be
one's A budget versus B budget.
the difference.
But I would think for vendors, if there was ever a, vendors will always have your number forever and ever.
right.
So that's my only caution.
Yeah, I wouldn't put your
of-
personal number on the phone.
Mm-mm.
And that's,
Maybe research that and then let's adjust possibly on the clerk's recommendation,
visit with
Touch
Jeff
base.
and Scott and see how they like the dual.
just for your
Because
sanity.
I hate to carry two phones. I
Yeah.
mean, I hate that.
Yeah,
But they don't have to, and they have the two numbers that ring into the same phone.
but if you
With
ever
the
chose
chip.
to leave the county, then that number should stay with the county
Right.
Mhm.
because that's going to be the procurement's contact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that can just change with the chip.
Right.
okay.
That's the other way.
But I
So-
can follow up with both Scott and Jeff and then touch base with Christy.
Yeah.
Just so we can adjust the recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. Christy. Okay, I can do that. My dues stay the same with the 3 different associations that I am a part of. The new piece would be under uniforms. I would ask that I have be labeled as Bannock County again as I go out to different agencies, or it was an interesting experience my first time going out to get lumber bids. I had never done that before. And then they were all very accommodating once they realized who I was. But just being able to be identified as I entered that business, I think would be a little nicer. So then I would ask for one jacket and one blouse is the money that I've requested there. And again, once those are purchased, then they wouldn't be in the next year's budget.
When you say jacket, do you mean like coat
Just-
jacket?
no,
Or a dress jacket type?
A
No.
windbreaker type jacket.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
that's-
yes,
okay,
yeah,
That's what I
something.
meant by the first coat, but.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, perfect.
I pictured like a winter thick, and I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
not that. Sorry. But yeah, just a thin little something that as we are, there's not often that there are things that are outside, but there are a few of those after-hour events that I spoke to Commissioner Crowder about that I thought would be useful for them. The last one I have is a new one that I just finished a call on yesterday. And I wanted to put this out there, but I'm not quite certain where I want to go. And that is in regards to the software that I'm currently using, Bonfire. Last year, I had brought before the board that they are requesting a 7% annual increase. I was not a huge fan of that number, and or then what I could show to my people, my vendors, and my commissioners what that 7% brought us. So in that light, as both planning and zoning and public works had gone back to OpenGov, that rung a bell. I was like, oh, I've heard of that. I know they have a purchasing thing. So I started down conversations. And they do have a fantastic software. But as you can see, it comes with a price tag. Today, I have had 2 conversations with them. Today, I am not ready to ask for $40,878. I did want to put it before you. There are efficiencies. There are better ways of doing what we're doing now. But I wanted to put this before the board. I do want to look at it a little more, and I understand that I don't have a whole lot of time before this needs to be final, but I at least wanted to introduce this. I want to talk to Kyle and Buddy about efficiencies that they might see in using the same software to do all of their things that they're doing now, as well as purchasing, to be able to know better if I can justify this ask. But I did want to at least, when I got final numbers yesterday after a phone call, I at least wanted them introduced today. But I don't, that's a big jump. It's a big jump. Half of that, as you'll see, is getting it up and going. That 21 is a one-time and we're done. But annually, it's going to be just about double what I'm paying now. So that's why I am not 100% confident, even with its lovely bells and whistles, in asking for that now. I want to be able to show or say that there'll be double the benefits going forward. But I wanted to introduce that today, but I'll go through, and there's a couple other agencies here in Idaho that have it. My 2 big wins that I want to see out of it, if I were willing to ask for it, would be one, that internally we're going to see those benefits. The biggest one being from the Public Works Department. They're the ones that consistently, year after year, we bid out the most projects on. So I would see that the most efficiencies with that department. The other one is the vendors. Again, they're promising that we'll double, triple the number of bids we receive. I was very frank with them and said that Bonfire told me the same thing, and yet we don't see any more than those same relationships that we've already built in the past. We do get in front of a whole lot more, hundreds of more companies, but that hasn't translated into additional bids.
When you look into this, would you see if by chance they could somehow work with Tyler too? Because where we're doing contracts and procurement through this system, if we could somehow
link
also
the 2.
integrate that so that the contracts could automatically roll to Tyler, then
Yeah.
we're not manually entering all of those
Okay.
to try to manage them, because right now that's what I have David doing. So if you
Yeah.
could look at how it would work with Tyler, that would be awesome.
Yeah, sure will.
And then
Yes.
your subscription expires, I mean, this has a July 1 date, so you would
Oh.
need funds this year? Or
They
not?
were very excited to get moving.
Okay.
And
So this
did
could
want
happen in
to,
October.
did want to let me know that they could get me as active as quickly as July 1. I smiled and said, thank you. My biggest hurdle, money is important. My biggest concern today is ARPA. I've got a bid live, one went live today. I've got 2 that haven't closed, and we can't slow down till we're done. So I am very nervous about a transition in between that period. So really, if moving, I'm not certain I'd want to move until like December, until we get done with it. But once I saw that.
Done in December.
Yeah.
But when I saw the price tag, I at least wanted to have that discussion. I will follow up with Tyler. That could be additional efficiencies that we might be able to see in there. They do have amazing features, right? They connect with calendars. They do some of the stuff that I believe Tyler was talking about, the notifications as things come up, right? Then, they do have unlimited users, right? Everybody here, everybody in the county could have a user and full access to this, where in Bonfire we pay for 2 licenses. So there are definitely some things, whether or not double my price tag, I'm uncertain at this time, but I'll look into Tyler for sure and report back to Christie and the commission just as quickly as possible on whether or not I am comfortable asking for this in this fiscal budget, if that's
The
okay.
clerk's recommendation is due on the 11th of July. So that would also require funding.
Yes, yes. Okay.
We talked about it a little bit yesterday afternoon after she got off the phone, and I said, well, show it to us, but that's real short notice and double the price. There's, got a way out to balance things out, so.
And I completely understand on that, but I will follow up and get with Christie. I'm going to put the 4th, that I'll follow up with you before the 4th of July, so you have that well in advance of your discussion.
Great, because if we've got to cut and
Making adjustments.
as we're cutting it anyway.
Just if I'm a part of that list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll do it by the 4th, Christie, if that's
Thank
okay.
you.
Are there any additional questions?
I don't have any.
Nope, I don't have any.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Right,
Shanda.
thank you.
I just heard from Lillian, she's tied up with a tour at the museum, so we'll just come back at 2 o'clock if that's all right.
All right. Thank you very much.
I should have checked with her. I just looked at your webpage that they started at 10, and I thought, well, I'll just wait. I'll come back at 2.
Yeah, we got a full day of it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa.
What's next?
Melissa Hartman or Steve
Melissa,
Herzog or courts?
Prosecutors and courts.